I just wanted to do a side-by-side comparison between these two vehicles for those of you who are looking to upgrade from the first gen to the second generation E-Revo, and for those of you just looking into the E-Revo 2.0 in general. So hopefully this video helps you guys choose and understand what's different between these two trucks. So first thing, I'm going to start out with the tires. These are the Talon EXT tires on the new E-Revo, and then just the regular Talon tires on the old E-Revo. The new E-Revo's tires are much thicker. The tread is way more aggressive. The tires do not balloon as much, I'd say. I definitely say that the first generation E-Revo tires do balloon more. So you can see that the Talon EXT tires are slightly taller. This is a 6.4 inch tall tire, and then the old Talons are only 5.75 inches tall. Both tires are the same width though. If anything, I think the Talon EXT is just a hair wider. The wheels, you can see it's just got a black wheel on this truck and then a black chrome wheel on the old truck. Now moving on to the bodies, as far as I can tell, the Lexan is the same thickness on both E-Revo bodies. They kept the shape of the body mostly the same. On the new E-Revo, they've got this plastic part up top to help protect the body, and they added the new body locking system inspired by the X-Max, whereas the old E-Revo still just uses the 4 body posts and utilizes body clips. You can notice little changes here and there, like the hood is more pronounced in the old E-Revo. You can see it's got this upper section here that is much taller. You've got the scoop up here where the new E-Revo does not have that. And then back here, Traxxas got rid of the radiator fans that the old E-Revo has in back. And then, of course, they changed the graphics, obviously. And then the side, this little ledge here isn't as pronounced on the newer E-Revo, whereas the old one, it's got a great ledge for collecting dust. The rear wings on both of the E-Revos appear to have the same mold. You can see the bumper mold on the new E-Revo is the exact same as the old E-Revo. The only difference is, of course, the plastic, and then this is a black chrome, whereas this is just kind of like a shiny-ish black. You can see a slight difference in the two wing mount. This one is, I'd say, more horizontal, whereas the old E-Revo wing mount kind of pitches up the wing a lot more. I talked about the body mounts between the new and the old. This is just with the body locking system, and then you've got the old body mounts with the little plug for the Traxxas Easy Start carried over from the original Revo. So moving on to the electronics, in the old E-Revo, Traxxas used to run the original Mama Monster, and then they switched to the VXL 6S, which is basically a Mama Monster 2. It is waterproof, and then now they have the VXL 6S ESC, which is also waterproof. They can both handle 6L. The thing I like about the VXL 6S is it has all of these light indicators down here to show you the temperature and then the low voltage cutoff and things like that. And it also has an easy set button rather than this 2-position switch. This 2-position switch, as I mentioned in my unboxing video, always shuts off when you're jumping this truck pretty high. It comes down on the landing and the impact will just shut that switch right off. That's one thing that bothered me about the older system. Otherwise, it ran great. I'm pretty sure that both motors are the same, just a 2200 kV sensorless motor. These steering servos are the exact same going from the first generation to the second generation E-Revo. They use the Traxxas 2075 servos. They've got 2 of them up front. You can see that those are the same. So you can see in the back here, they kept the progressive rockers on the truck out of the box. This is the new E-Revo. You can see the progressives, and then they also have those on the old E-Revo. The only difference is, of course, they changed the plastic. Throughout this whole new E-Revo, you can just assume for each and every part that they changed the plastic, so I'm gonna stop saying that. So I added this rear chassis brace. I think I bought it for like 10 bucks. It's just a blue anodized aluminum Traxxas chassis brace, and then the new E-Revo comes with the plastic chassis brakes out of the box. So of course it is plastic, not as durable as the aluminum, but it still does keep the chassis a lot more rigid. You can definitely see a difference in the A-arms, both front and rear. They are a lot beefier, and then they also have that new position to change the hub carrier to. They kind of changed, I guess, the angles here and there. You can kind of notice these holes here in the front A-arms a lot more. That was the old E-Revo, and then changing to the new one, you can see they're kind of shaped differently. All of the links and push rods are updated on the new E-Revo. You can see that they're about the same thickness. Here's the old one. They also had these little blue anodized spacers here before the rod ends, and on the new one they no longer have that, and they do have stronger rod ends on there right now. You can notice a larger difference with the steering links. You can see that the rod ends are a lot smaller, and then as we move to the new E-Revo, the rod ends are extended, so there is more engagement, which is awesome. They tweaked the mold of the hubs on the new E-Revo. You can see the old one in there, and then here's the new ones. It fits a much larger bearing, so you shouldn't be having as many problems with those. And then next is the drive shafts. This has a CVD on one side and a dog bone on the other. This is a steel drive shaft inspired by the X-Max. And you can see the old E-Revo just has some plastic drive shafts. A lot of people ended up breaking these. I personally only broke 2 throughout my 3 years of having this truck. The front and rear bulkheads are also updated on this truck. It's not super noticeable, but they are a lot beefier. You can still see the pillow ball boots, just those little blue boots on the inside there. Here's the receiver box on the old E-Revo. I do not know what receiver really either E-Revo has, but I can just tell you that the receiver box is the same size, unlike my unboxing video where I said that the new one was slightly smaller. This one is the same size. It just has this little rubber piece. I don't know, to be honest, what that's for. The transmission, this is on the new E-Revo. They really beefed up the motor plate. You can see it is a lot thicker here, and the old E-Revo, it is pretty thin there. There wasn't any issues with it though, at least no issues I had. Looks like this part's the same, and then the transmission housing itself and all the gears inside, you can see this is a lot bigger. And then the new E-Revo transmission is smaller and way more simplified. Looks like this will be easier to work on just because of course there's less moving parts. You know, they just simplified the gears and everything on the inside. So the shocks, this is the older GTR shock from Traxxas. These have worked well. They use the same rod ends and everything. Really the only thing I see that Traxxas updated is the color of the body. This is just an aluminum shock body. To protect the shocks, Traxxas doesn't have anything up front on the older E-Revo, and then going to the new E-Revo, they added this little cage here to help protect the shocks. Traxxas also updated the center differential in the new E-Revo. As far as the chassis go, I haven't noticed any big changes besides just the plastic. You can see the battery doors and everything are the same. The only difference I could find personally in the chassis is this little area down here. It's got one hole way down there to drain water, and there's nothing over here. And then going to the new E-Revo, they do have a new screw hole added there. You can see the hole still down there, but they added some plastic there, so the rear chassis brace and cages for the shocks can screw down in there. Here's the size comparison between the old and new E-Revo. You can see the new E-Revo is a lot wider. I can get them side by side to show you the width, but now you really see the length and how the wheelbase is almost the same. The E-Revo 2.0 is a little bit longer, and then you can see the size difference in the tires, of course. And then here you can see the difference in width between the two trucks. Underneath the truck that they updated these skid plates, you can see the front skid plate is a little different here. It just looked like an older style, and here it is a lot smoother. And then the rear skid plate on this truck, you can see it's a little narrower down here. And then over here, the bridge on this one is a lot wider. So hopefully there are less hang-up points on this truck. So here's an old A-arm from the E-Revo 1.0. You can see side by side. It is, you know, pretty noticeable. I guess you can kind of see with that little tiny plastic cross brace that the newer A-arms are definitely beefier. As far as compatibility, it does look like it'll line up, so you should be able to run the old A-arms on the new E-Revo. So I guess it's tough to say. There is definitely a bigger difference in the rear, going from one version of A-arm to the other. You can see it has the mounting spot just on the back side of it, whereas this one has it on both sides. You can see it is definitely beefier. It definitely has a different shape to it. It's tough to say. I guess don't really take my word for it whether or not the old A-arms will fit the new E-Revo. It looks like it would, and I'm sure it would. I guess it just might not be ideal. I really don't know. Now, one of the major problems with this truck for a lot of people, of course I only went through 2, but I've heard of people going through like pretty much 1 every couple runs. It was the rear diff and just the diffs in general on the E-Revo. They've got X-Max style diffs in here now. They got a lot bigger. They're just beefier in general. Moving on to performance between these two trucks, I'll definitely say that the new E-Revo E-Revo has the advantage. This truck, out of the box at least, was set up way better with the suspension and just the gearing and all that. But like I said, the suspension handles a lot better on the new one. It soaks up the jumps very well. Like I said in my running video, I think this truck handles a lot like the Summit. The suspension is very plush, but it still is pretty squatty in the rear, just like the old E-Revo. So when it comes to turning and cornering, this truck, I would say, does better overall. Maybe it's because the tires don't get as much grip or something like that. Maybe it sits slower, I'm not sure. But this one wouldn't traction roll as much as the E-Revo 2.0. When you get this thing on a high traction surface, it tends to want to roll over. Both trucks do wheelies like crazy. When it comes to small little features, this truck does not have TSM. That was one thing that they came out with after I purchased this truck. This truck doesn't have as many features as the E-Revo 2.0 because this one has TSM along with the self-righting system. So that's something pretty cool. Another thing is built-in telemetry. This truck does have that. I think with both the motor and the ESC, it's got the sensors built in. And you can see on the E-Revo 1.0, this one, the telemetry is separate. So I'd just like to touch quickly on durability. This truck, it is by far not the most durable vehicle out there. It is better than many vehicles though. I still say it's a durable truck though. You know, if you drive it right with good throttle control, it can handle the 6L power. I guess it's the driver in some situations that can't. With the E-Revo 2.0, it's too early to say what the weak points are. I popped off the rod end on the left rear shock shaft. I talked to someone on Instagram and they said that he had 2 people come into the hobby shop with the same issue, that the push rods connecting to the cantilevers also have that issue with the rod end just popping off. Maybe the rod ends in some cases are the weak point of the E-Revo 2.0. I guess overall, to really sum it up, the E-Revo 1.0 is an excellent truck. I kept this truck in the box stock format as long as I could just because I wanted to enjoy having an E-Revo, and that's what I'm going to be doing with the E-Revo 2.0. I don't plan to do any upgrades with this truck. You know, this truck was durable. They just, you know, went overboard with this one and made it way more durable than the first generation. I guess the question that everyone wants to know the answer to is it worth buying the E-Revo 2.0? I say it is if you don't have an E-Revo 1.0 that is like tricked out with every single upgrade possible. If you got like RPM everything, if you have it upgraded to the point where it doesn't break parts, I would say definitely keep it. The E-Revo 2.0, I would definitely recommend if you've got, you know, an E-Revo you're having problems with. If it's pretty stock or maybe just a few upgrades done to it, I would definitely recommend getting the E-Revo 2.0 just to kind of start fresh with a newly updated platform. It just makes it a lot easier. Hopefully that answers a lot of questions regarding differences between the E-Revo 2.0 versus the E-Revo 1.0. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I would love to answer them.